It's the time of the year where most people start thinking about winterizing their mower. So I thought I'd make a quick video and tell you what I do and what I don't do that's a little different than probably most people. Now let me say first and foremost, the circumstances for me might be a little different than they are for you. I live in Alabama. It's sunny and warm for a large portion of the year. As a matter of fact, I usually only park my mower in the fall. It gets about 2 months of being parked before the leaves fall and I get into mulching season, which I'm just about to be in. And then I park it in January. Leaf mulching season goes through almost the end of December, sometimes into the first week of January, and then it parks for about 3 months. In March I get it out, and that's when the mowing really starts. So factor that in with what I'm saying. If you live up north and park your mower for about 9 months, your circumstances and what I'm about to say may not apply to you. But let me tell you what most people do when it comes time to winterize. There is the stabilizer group. They use a fuel stabilizer, put it in their tank. Some don't even run it like you should to let it get down into the bowl of the carb. And then they let the mower sit and they think they're going to be good to go. The second group drains either the tank or they have a fuel shutoff here, and they'll shut it off and run the mower until it runs out. And then the select group that will even drain the bowl to make sure everything is out of there. So that's the two groups, the stabilizer group or the drain your tank or drain the carb bowl group, and then just let it sit and hope for the best. The reason I don't do either of those is number one, fuel stabilizer. And this might be somewhat anecdotal, but it's my experience, and I had a mechanic, a local snapper mechanic back when we had a dealer for snapper, back when snapper was really a thing, that told me he had more people come in that needed carb replacements because of fuel stabilizer. They would put it in their tank, they would run it. Said the seat on modern carbs, fuel stabilizer eats at them, according to him. And I gotta say, at least from my experience, the second I quit using stabilizer, I quit having to replace carbs. So I'm thinking, at least for me, there's something to that. Okay, well that's great. Well, what if I don't use stabilizer, but I drain my tank? So I'm good there, right? Well, not really. Most people use ethanol gas. I don't. We'll get into that in a second. But most people use ethanol gas. Ethanol gas, the ethanol draws in moisture. Problem is, if you run this out, even if you run the bowl empty, you're still going to have little residues of gas in there. And that ethanol in that gas is going to pull in moisture from the outside air, and little bits of corrosion are going to start forming. It's just unavoidable. That's the way ethanol works. So I don't use fuel stabilizer. I don't drain my tank. I don't drain the bowl of the carb. What do I do? Step one, non-ethanol gas. Inside my no-spill tank, which is still working like a champ multiple years later. I think I'm going on about 7 years with this tank, with all my no-spill tanks. But inside this is non-ethanol gas. Now it does cost a little more, but I estimate that over the course of a mowing season, I might spend $20 more for non-ethanol gas. Totally worth it to get more life and trouble-free service out of my mower. So I'll spend that over the course of a season. You know what, $1.50 or something like that per tank. Actually, I think it's more than that. I think it's about $5 per tank more, for at least per this gas can more to fill this up. But it's worth it to me. And I don't have any problems with residue buildup. You can let non-ethanol gas sit for 6 months without any problem, without any stabilizers, anything like that. And because as I mentioned, I have a 2-month gap and a 3-month gap, I can let my mower sit with gas in it and not have any problems thanks to non-ethanol gas. And I don't have to drain my tank, so no extra labor maintenance. I mean, I just park it in here and then go. That's good, but that's not the only thing that I do. I didn't mention chargers. A lot of people will pull their battery off, especially if you're up north and it's going to be sitting for a long amount of time. But here in the south, people don't pull their batteries out on their mowers enough. I'm still running the factory battery in my mower. This is the one that came on the mower. And that date there, I'm assuming that's when they expected it to be replaced, because I bought this in 2020. So I don't know what's up with that, but I did install this right out of the gate before I even used the mower. I put this on and zip tied it to all the factory wiring. This is a trickle charge lead. I use a trickle charger kind of fitting that I use a die hard you know, a Sears brand or former Sears brand on another former Sears brand. But this is my trickle charger. Schumacher, I believe, made this. You can get these on Amazon for about 50 bucks. But this is the float charger that I use, and I alternate this between my mower and my 2 scooters, and I go back and forth about every week, every 2 weeks. I'll swap between them, so keep my battery maintained, along with non-ethanol gas and not draining the tank, so the gas stays in the tank, the battery stays in the mower, it just gets trickle charged. The most important thing that I do, and the thing that I think a lot of people that don't have to set their mower up for the majority of the year should do, is something an old mechanic told me. As a matter of fact, the one that told me about the fuel stabilizer mentioned this, and then I heard it on Terrell Fixes All. So it must be a thing outside of just my small area, and that is when you pay your electric bill, run your mower. Very simple thing. And the way it went was electric bill equals power, power equals power equipment. So every month when you go to pay your electric bill, get your mower and crank it up and let it run for 5 minutes. Let it cycle through enough to replenish in the carb, no residues, no buildup. Of course, non-ethanol gas helps greatly with that. But that's it, a simple thing. When you pay your electric bill, it's time to put the power into your systems by letting them run. Do the same thing with my scooters there. Scooters, mowers, once a month. That's what I do, and I haven't had any problems. So my multiple steps here. Non-ethanol gas. Don't drain the tank. Trickle charge the battery, and then run the mower. Crank it and go, at least for 5 minutes. I don't even ride it around. I just pull it right where it sits here, and then back it back up. Put it right back in my shed. But run it for 5 minutes, and everything will stay running, or it has stayed running for me for over 3 years now, with the mower that a lot of people said would make it for a season. Other than standard stuff like oil and filters, I haven't had to do anything to this mower. So there you go, my winterizing tips, my do's and don'ts, at least how they apply to me. Your mileage may vary. So comment below with what you do for winterizing, what you think about my tips. What do you think about that fuel stabilizer thing that the mechanic said, the rule that I follow in non-ethanol gas, all that. Comment below, let me know. Have a great day.